busy night of weather across the Northeast and in the upper Midwest as a major storm forms over the Great Lakes. And we've got impacts from Maine to southern New England to the northern mid Atlantic states, all the way west back to Minnesota, Iowa, and the Dakotas. We'll get into all of this and more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Do your Amazon shopping using our referral link that's on the description to this podcast. Just buy something and Amazon throws us some coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you a cent. And if enough of you do that, we don't have to run commercials while we're doing the show live. So we appreciate very much those of you who have used our Amazon referral link. And Tempest by Weatherflow, if you haven't gotten a weather station yet and you got some money from Christmas, well, get a Tempest by Weatherflow weather station. It'll be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the description to this podcast. And the coupon code, as Joe Rayo knows, is...
It is autumn 2025. We're still waiting for a chance for Tempest to give us a chance to change that code to winter 2025. But at the moment, still autumn 2025. And if you use that code, you will get 10 big % off anything you purchase from Tempest.
And I'm looking on the on my Tempest dashboard, and it's still, I can't change it. So there you go. All right. Nice to see everybody on the chat board tonight, as always, and welcome to those of you lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. And no changes in the schedule this week, at least for the time being. There might be a change. We haven't really discussed it yet, but we'll figure it out. So if you like the show, hit the like button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us, because you'll get, and then make sure you turn your notifications on so you do know when we do schedule changes, which we do from time to time. So there you go. As it turned out, and this is the thing about the whole event back on Friday into Saturday morning. Wait until it's over with before you start casting the stones in the public square. So, I mean, in hindsight, obviously, the forecast accumulation amounts for New Jersey were a bust. Where they did get snow, they got less than half of what was forecast. But the forecast wasn't really that bad for the Hudson Valley or for Long Island. If you were thinking in the lines of a 3 to 5, 4 to 6 inch snowfall, you got it. Maybe it was a little under some of the higher amounts. And Connecticut did really well with this. That was a kind of a bust in the other direction because the heavy snow band shifted to the east and got eastern half of Long Island and Connecticut, so their numbers actually had to go up. But overall, I think most people that are in the viewing audience of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast got something out of that. And now we move on to tonight. And I'll tell you about tonight, Joe. At least I was just looking at the radar, and you would think it was freezing rain everywhere. But then when you look at the observations, a lot of what's overhead's not really reaching the ground. Some places it is, but in a lot of places it's not.
Yeah, it took the dog out about a half an hour ago, and Renata said you better get out there because it looks like from radar that things are already happening. But I went out there and there was nothing. It was clouds. In fact, if anything, Joe, I saw the moon, however dimly, through the cloud cover. So it's still, from now till at least midnight tonight, it's still going to be, the ambient air temperatures are going to be at or below freezing in many localities here in the lower Hudson Valley. And as a result of that, any precipitation likely will come down in the frozen form and could freeze on some surfaces and cause a glaze, slick and slippery conditions. So you should be aware of that. Certainly it is a distinct possibility. But then after midnight, after this warm front, and that's what's generating all of this, a warm front moves to our north, we will get into an increasingly milder airflow. And by tomorrow morning, by daybreak, Many of you who are watching now, at least in the immediate New York area, will either be at or even above 40, much too warm for any freezing precipitation, and then we'll await the cold front coming in from the west, which will generate its own share of precipitation. Showers in and around our area, and once the front moves on through, things should dry out by later in the day tomorrow, and then the cold returns after a brief little bout of milder air and temps in the 40s tomorrow. It's back into the deep freeze we go. Actually, it's uh, as I'm sure you'll point out, Joe, it's one of several shots, reinforcing shots of cold air, which will keep us in the deep freeze right on through most of this upcoming week and into next weekend as well.
Yeah, probably even beyond that. It's a pretty cold setup all the way around. I mean, it will relax from time to time, but you're right, you're going to get these reinforcements of cold air. I'm going to bring up the surface map right now, which is from 4 o'clock this afternoon. That was the last plotted map from the Weather Service, and we have a major storm here that's developing in northeastern Illinois. Pressure has dropped. Let me just see on the previous one. So at 18Z, it was a 96. At 10 o'clock this morning, it was, well, I'm sorry, at 7 o'clock this morning, and the map's not changing for some reason. Okay, well, that doesn't help my cause, does it? Um, so here we go. It's down to a 993 low. It's going to probably get into the 970s before it's all said and done. But you can see what's happening here. The warm front is sort of getting hairpinned down the Appalachian Mountains and then comes out in eastern Georgia and South Carolina. I'm at 60 degrees here. It's been pretty much in the upper 50s and low 60s here all day with a lot of clouds. But look at the Ohio Valley. I mean, it's in the mid and upper 60s across Ohio and Indiana and Illinois. Got 70-degree readings in southern Illinois and southern Indiana, 70s in Kentucky, 70s in Tennessee. A really well-established warm sector here, and we've got this intensifying storm. So we actually have tornado watches that are up tonight. And then you jump to the other side of this front, uh, impressive in terms of the temperatures because you're in the teens and 20s in Iowa. Still a little on the warm side in Illinois, but it won't be for much longer once the low moves a little further to the northeast. But you're in the teens in Iowa. You're in the low teens and single digits across Minnesota and into the Dakotas. And we've got a raging blizzard that's going on from the eastern Dakotas that's going to gradually spread through northern Michigan, the upper peninsula of Michigan, and the northern and western parts of the lower peninsula of Michigan. Um, this is going to eventually create wind issues here. Once our cold front comes through and winds go to the northwest, wind advisories are up for Monday night into Tuesday, and I think we'll probably see some gusts up there in the 40 plus mile an hour range.
It's no question about it. The front, the aforementioned cold front, is scheduled to move through within an hour or two of about 1 p.m. tomorrow. But even though it moves through, we're not going to instantaneously change to much colder weather. We'll still have the mild temperatures with us, at least for the remainder of the afternoon tomorrow. And then, as Joe mentioned, as the winds pick up out of a west and west northwest direction and gusts past 30 and even perhaps 40 miles an hour, that cold air advection will just literally drive that much colder air mass in here for tomorrow night, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And even though the models don't really support it, it is worth mentioning, because of the atmosphere's instability, that there might be a passing snow shower or flurry here on Tuesday and maybe Wednesday as well. A cheap thrill, if you will, but nothing in terms of anything significant as that cold air gets settled back into our area. The snow that fell on Friday and Friday night, Joe, well, it's still around in many areas, but with the fog and with the advance of plain rain showers here over the course of the night tonight into early tomorrow, and the temperatures rising 2 or above 40, that certainly should take care of, I'm not all of it, obviously, but a good bulk of the snow that fell the end of last week. And then we'll settle, as I said, into a much colder weather regime for this upcoming week ahead.
Well, a lot of watches and warnings up and advisories. We in the Northeast at the last minute this afternoon, the Weather Service added Northeast New Jersey, New York City, and Long Island to the winter weather advisory. In a few places along the coast, temperatures have already gone up above freezing, but the ground is cold, so you need at least a few hours for the ground to catch up. If there's some rain around, you might have a thermometer sitting at 33 or 4, but it's quite possible that you could have some glaze forming on some roadways. So just be extra cautious tonight. Not seeing a whole lot, as I said earlier, when I looked at the radar and looked at you would think there was a steady rain everywhere, but a lot of what's on the radar over the over New Jersey and Long Island not reaching the ground. More stations in New Jersey are seeing rain now, or some sort of mix of rain, freezing rain, and maybe even an ice pellet or two, I suppose, showing up in some of the northwestern New Jersey counties. Advisories up for northern Pennsylvania. We have lake effect snow warnings up for the northwestern counties, and that's going to come once the cold front goes by and the lake effect snow machine gets turned on, which is why we have winter storm warnings up in southwest New York and north central New York. Advisories cover just about all of New York State, and we have ice storm warnings in 4 counties in northern New York. And you see them there, bordering Vermont, where we also have ice storm warnings up in much of that state. Winter storm warnings in the southern half of New Hampshire, advisories, winter weather advisories to the north, and winter storm warnings in the northern half of rain. Wind advisories go all the way down through the Appalachians, all west through the Ohio and Tennessee Valley, and up and down the Mississippi River Valley into Texas and Oklahoma. Around the Great Lakes, we have winter storm warnings in western Michigan. Blizzard warnings are now up for the upper peninsula of Michigan for the most part. The state of Wisconsin, I would say probably more than 3/4 of it in a winter storm warning. Southern counties in a winter weather advisory. Blizzard warnings up in northern Iowa. Much of Minnesota, from cut Minnesota in half on a diagonal from northwest to southeast. If you're south and west of that, you're in a blizzard warning. If you're north and east of that, you're either in winter weather advisories or winter storm warnings. And some counties in eastern North and South, eastern North Dakota and northeastern South Dakota under a blizzard warning. We have winter weather advisories and a couple of winter storm warnings in southeast New Mexico, believe it or not. So busy over there as well. And here's what it looks like on the satellite loop tonight. A really impressive rotation here back in uh, in South Dakota, slowly moving eastward. The cold air plunging south all the way down through the central plains. The temperatures in the teens and 20s, reaching down into northern Oklahoma, and that cold air headed east. And the bright white cloud line you see running from southeastern Michigan down through Indiana and into Illinois. We've got we have thunderstorms and some severe weather, and you can see the moisture that's coming into the Northeast with the warm front. And normally, Joe, with these types of setups in certain situations with these warm fronts, you can actually do well with snow, but it's way too warm aloft. The warming aloft occurred first, and now we're just waiting to scour out all the cold air, which I think will have general success in southern areas, certainly, during the overnight and into tomorrow morning.
I just want to address something that I've seen on the chat board here. A couple of people have been saying, does it still look like we're going to get a big snowstorm around January 7th and 8th? And I see Harold Olson pointing out, he said, life changing blizzard on GFS around January 10th.
Where
Now, now,
can we? What's
before
a
you get,
life-changing blizzard?
yeah,
You know, a
I,
life-changing event for me is when I go out shopping for new underwear. I mean, come on, a life-changing blizzard? Will you stop? I
I,
got to tell you, folks. Hold on, I'm bringing us back full screen. Okay, why? Have you not? Has anybody not learned? Bang your head again. Go ahead. I have a headache, so I'm going to get rid of it by banging my head on the desk. Okay, that's how I'm going to get rid of it, and then I'm going to realize, oh, my headache's not gotten away. It's actually gotten worse. So I know what I'll do. I'll bang my head even harder. I mean, come on. First of all, why are you folks quoting on what I understand what other people do? I know everybody forecast shops, and I get that. It's ridiculous, but everybody gets that. You have not heard us speak of anything beyond maybe New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and we'll talk about the long range. But for Christ's sake, you know how the game works by now. Models throw stuff, put stuff out there on one run that's gone on the next. Social media goons pick up on it to get clicks, and then they write on it it's not a forecast, which, as I always say, if it's not a forecast, why are you putting it up in the first place? I mean, can we stop this? God, stop.
I have often said on this podcast that if I had my druthers, I would go back to the 5 day forecast and
Oh,
not go
if you had your druthers, we'd go back to the calling the operator Mabel to connect you, you know, to a phone call. But go on.
I've said on many occasions, and especially in the wintertime, when you start making outlooks beyond 5 days, do it with some trepidation because, especially in a pattern that we have been in where everything is moving so very quickly, and I said this more than once in the last couple of weeks, when you have such a progressive pattern, even the supercomputers that are used to forecast, it's difficult for them to keep track or to keep up with what's going on with the changes that are taking place. I've also said that sometimes you have situations where an event suddenly pops up in front of you in a matter of just days. You know, that you didn't have this on the radar literally and figuratively, 4 days out. And then all of a sudden, in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, all of a sudden, boom, here comes a scenario for possible freezing, precipitation, or possible snow. Case in point, and this actually, I post a daily forecast on Facebook. I went back a week, Joe. I went back to my Hudson Valley forecast. This is dated December 21st, 2025. 1 week ago, I issued it at 2:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time last Sunday. I'm going to let you hear what I had forecasted on my long range or extended forecast for Friday, this past Friday. Last Sunday, my forecast for this past Friday was cloudy, windy, milder, possible rain and showers, unseasonably mild, high 48. And of course, as you are well aware, we were nowhere near 48 on this past Friday. We did not get rain and showers. We instead ended up with late day snow, which came in like a wall and brought 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 inches an hour initially but that didn't even show up on any of the maps that I looked at less than a week earlier, last Sunday. I had no clue. I had no idea that we were going to be in line for a snow event on Friday of this past week. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that sometimes when you try to make forecasts in the wintertime beyond, let's say, 3 or 4 days, and my God, making forecasts for, let's say, the second week of January from this point onward, forget about it. It's useless. And that's why I've been saying for years, go back to the 5 day outlook. No, 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 no. The media consultants, they want the TV station. Look, go with 7, and if you can go with a 10-day outlook, that's even a 10-day outlook, especially in the wintertime, is just plain detrimental. People look at that and they say, oh, okay, 10 days from now we're going to get snow, or 10 days from now it's going to warm up, 10 days. Let me tell you, again, sometimes at this time of the year, to go beyond 4 or 5 days, it's utterly useless. It's an educated guess. And again, as to what's going to happen beyond, let's say, 3 or 4 days, good luck, because sometimes it doesn't work out that way. In fact, more often than not, it doesn't work out as to what is put up there. We put it up because we know that you want to see it. It's our best logic driven forecast. But sometimes, and this was a classic example, here we had a major snowfall, the biggest snowfall of the season so far, and the biggest one this month of December. And again, for most forecasters, it wasn't even evident a week ago. And in fact, if anything, we were thinking about unseasonably mild temperatures, and it turned out to be quite the opposite. Rant
Yep.
over.
Delaware weather guy Joe hit the tip jar, hit the super chat tip jar, and thank you, by the way, very much, Delaware weather guy. You can find you for all you Delaware weather fans. You can find his Facebook page. Did this tip change your life? Question mark. And my response to that is, well, if you threw in a few more zeros and moved the decimal point over 5 or 6 spots, then the answer would be yes. But you know, that at least get me one pair of underwear.
Cecilia Hernandez is asking me on the
Thank you,
chat
by the
board,
way.
don't you have more faith than a 3 day forecast? This is 2025. Technology has improved. Wrong,
Technology,
Cecilia.
Joe.
Wrong,
Technology.
Cecilia. Let me tell you something, Cecilia. Technology has not improved. When you take away any number of radio sonde observations, if you stop putting balloons up into the atmosphere, which gave us more enhanced data, augmented the data that we had. It is not improved. In fact, if anything, it is running less than what we
Listen,
had a year ago.
hey, Joe. If
Yes,
technology has improved so much, if technology had improved that much, well, look what happened on Friday. Okay, look what happened on Friday, and
yes.
that's a perfect example. I mean, yeah, people. I had to change, changing forecasts on the fly, raising numbers in one place, lowering numbers in another. The global models which we rely on to give us a good idea of the atmosphere really did not handle Friday system well at all. The long,
The NAM was the best.
the
The
NAM
NAM
did,
was the
yeah,
best.
the NAM did really well, and
It did.
the HRRR initially didn't see the warm nose either until about 24 hours before, and then started to figure out, okay, it was going to line up the way it did. So no, it hasn't improved enough, and you can't have faith in it. Okay, you can get a general idea of what the weather pattern is going to be going longer term, and we're going to talk about that momentarily. But if you want to bet money, if you want to bet money on it, go ahead. I guarantee you're not going to come out of it well, and you're going to come out of it with an empty wallet if you want to bet on the improvement in these models going out in the long range. Here's the radar tonight, and you can see the arm of the warm front. It actually is coming down at a really good clip, rain precip wise, in upstate New York. There's some heavier rain along I-90. I want to just check what's going on up there because they got advisories up all the way. I'm just wondering, how much of that is ice. So the way the warm front is set up, it's just sort of hairpinned around, and there's warmer air that's come into southwestern New York, moving northeastward. But just going to quickly check here. Albany right now is at actually 23, and they should be getting into precip pretty soon. Let's I'm sorry, 25 freezing rain there, freezing rain in 25, and so they're going to get some serious icing up in that part of New York State. Just want to take a look and see what's going on in Syracuse. If I can just get my mouse to cooperate here. Let's go to Syracuse and see what's happening. They have a winter storm warning there. 32 with freezing rain. It's been going on for a while, so there must be significant icing that's happening across a good chunk of upstate New York. Meanwhile, check out the radars in Indiana and Illinois. Where is my mouse? There we go. Look at that squall line, Joe. Really impressive here. And I can tell you that looking at the yellow boxes and even some red boxes showing up for tornado warnings in southern Illinois, and severe thunderstorm warnings from southern Illinois up through much of Indiana, that is a hefty looking squall line for late December.
That is, and in fact, they even had, I think, on the SBC, they had a 5% probability in a small area out ahead of that cold front for tornadic activity. And you say to yourself, it's so active now. What's going to happen when the front is practically upon us tomorrow? And yet, if you take a look at the outlook for tomorrow on the convective outlook from SPC, they have nothing. And in fact, they're talking about the possibility of maybe there might be some convection, but it's probably going to be the probability is less than 10%. So they kind of bypass that. Now, I'm not talking about severe. I'm just talking about general convection. So whatever's happening now, whatever you see there now, is going to kind of diminish or peter out over the next 12 to 18 hours. And by the time it gets to us, all right, maybe you might hear a rumble of thunder tomorrow around midday as the front moves through. But in all likelihood, it's just going to come through with some showery rains and then an increase in the winds tomorrow afternoon. And maybe we might actually end the day tomorrow with a few pokes or breaks of sunshine.
This is all the snow that is going on through Minnesota into the Dakotas, and I'm just looking at Minneapolis right now. This would be fun to be outside in. It's 11 degrees, okay, with a northwest wind at 20, gusting to 37, snowing, 2 mile visibility. Looks like it might be snowing a bit heavier to the south and west of Minneapolis, but it gives you an idea of what's going on. Minneapolis is in a winter storm warning. They're not actually just outside the blizzard warning area, but St. Cloud, which is to the north, is in the blizzard warning. They are 9 above 0 with 2 mile visibility in snow. Northwest at 20, gusting to 31. And I'll pick up another point here. Hold on just a second. I've got a very naughty mouse that doesn't seem to want to cooperate with me, but I'm going to force it here. And I went to Wilmar, Minnesota, which is west of Minneapolis. I don't know how many miles west, but it is to the west. 1/4 mile, Joe, visibility in heavy snow, freezing fog, 7 above 0, northwest wind at 35, gusting to 44. So the wind chill is minus 18. I mean, that is impressive. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
yes. I wonder if
Oh,
there's a TV. I wonder if there's a TV station in that area. They probably would send the on-camera meteorologist outside to report the weather, simply to watch his face freeze off.
of course. And the rest of the country is actually pretty quiet, except for a little bit of rain that's coming in to the Pacific Northwest. And as far as moisture is concerned this week, it's along the West Coast, specifically California, where we're seeing several to, in some cases, many inches along the immediate coast of California from north to south, and also several to many inches of liquid in the Sierra Nevadas. And that comes later in the forecast period, and then eventually extending out into the northern Rockies. Not the several to many inches, but maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half melted precip in the mountain in the areas where they get snow, and of course in the warmer valleys where they wind up getting rain. So, looking ahead where we may be going, we'll take a look at. I'm going to bring the European up and go to this storm that we were talking about here. 993, 990 at 8 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, deepens down to into the 970s, and the gradient gets even tighter across the western lakes. Our warm front goes by during tonight. Most of the freezing rain winds up moving up into New England and then eventually into Maine. And then here comes the cold front. If you believe the European, Joe, though, the rain with the front and even the GFS doesn't look, it's not going to be much. It's just going to kind of go through us tomorrow morning. And then it should be mostly done, I think, by early afternoon. And then we get the northwest winds, the upper trough goes by, and then the cold air comes in behind it tomorrow night and into Tuesday. And it looks like it's going to stay windy through much of Tuesday.
Yes, it does. It looks like the gradient is going to be tight enough for that for that wind to remain at a rather gusty level through Tuesday, and then things will kind of calm out on Wednesday. And yet we have another shot, another reinforcing shot of colder air moving in for Wednesday night into early Thursday, which will bring perhaps a few flurries and snow showers, and then bring back the wind machine, turning it back on again for Thursday into Friday. So this is going to be overall, except with the brief warm up tomorrow, this upcoming week as we transition from 2025 into 2026 looks to be cold and looks to be rather brisk and blustery as well.
Right. And a couple of things going on this week. First off, the lake effect machine starting tomorrow morning goes to work overtime in upstate New York and western New York and western Pennsylvania, even reaching down into West Virginia, continuing into Tuesday. Now there's a little low that's moving southeastward from Lake Winnipeg down to Minnesota. It's hard to find. It actually kind of gets lost, but there's an upper trough that drops southeastward, and that looks like it's going to probably come through, and then it's going to weaken. But then there's another one behind it, and you can see this is late Wednesday afternoon. There's this east-west area of light snows from northeastern Illinois on up into upstate New York, and as that little trough comes through, I wouldn't be surprised if we wind up getting maybe a few snow showers around early Thursday morning. The European is picking up on it. It's got a little area that goes over New Jersey and New York City and Long Island. Who knows if that's exactly where it's going to be? Maybe it's the kind of thing that puts a coating down in some places, or maybe even a little bit more, but not much more. You know, the models were actually kind of hinting that maybe the front would just slow down and it'll get a little wave development off the Jersey coast out of this, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen now. So we just basically stay cold and dry. Meanwhile, there's the Pacific energy and more of it coming in. And one breakaway piece on Friday moves across the south. And you see it there with a low in Alabama and Georgia, but that moves offshore and goes goodbye. And then we've got some northern energy early next week with a low that's sitting up in northern Michigan with a front approaching, some kind of warm front on Monday with a little bit of snow, if the European is correct. Particularly, starts out that it gets into eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and then it mainly it changes to a little bit of rain, and then it's more snow as you go up to the north and upstate New York. But nothing here of consequence. I think the problem with the models right now is that the northern features are so dominant that southern feature that forms is so far out ahead of any northern energy that you're not going to be able to do something with it. So out that goes, and then you got more cold air that comes down. This looked kind of interesting on the European along about the 9th or 10th, where it's got Pacific energy that gets shoved underneath the block and moves across the southern states, and cold high pressure spreading, from Canada into eastern Canada, from central Canada into eastern Canada. But that's way down the road, and who knows if it's going to be there tomorrow when we look at the models. But I will say this, Mr. Rayo, when you look at the upper air pattern, just look at the upper air pattern and nothing else. Forget what the surface does. But when you look at the upper air pattern in the longer term, where you've got blocking in Greenland and on up into northern Canada, a nice vortex sitting in over Hudson Bay, and in the Pacific, more importantly, you have no fire hose, and eventually you start to get more ridging in the Pacific Northwest and on up into the Western Canada. Uh, a nice reflection of a negative East Pacific oscillation developing after 10 days or more from now. If you look at this upper air pattern, and you're a winter weather lover, you have to look at this and say, I like this, because it does. This is a very wintry looking upper air pattern going forward into the first through the first couple of weeks of January.
Right, and you were talking about the lake effect snow machine. I just took a look, and after that cold front tomorrow, the front that's going to pass on through here around early afternoon, behind it the winds blow out of a west and west northwest direction, And if you're in Syracuse tomorrow, in fact, if you travel from Syracuse to Watertown, that's along Interstate 81, all along that stretch, you're going to get snow showers, frequent snow showers, snow squalls that are going to be dumping, inch after inch after inch of significant snow per hour. And it looks like what we're going to be looking at there from Watertown, from Syracuse to Watertown along 81, 12 to at least 15 or 16 inches of snow, reaching a peak near the midway between those two cities, Watertown and Syracuse, is a little community called Pulaski. It looks like
Been
Pulaski,
there,
and
been there.
if if you're gonna be in Pulaski, get your snow shovel ready because you're gonna need it. Somewhere between 18 and 20 inches of snow, all on lake effect. That's what they're experiencing or will be experiencing up in the Lake Snowbelt area Tuesday into Wednesday of this week. So, any of you out there, and Joe, I think you'll agree, it certainly is a much different picture this year in December as opposed to all of the previous, 3 or 4 years in December where we really had nothing but mild temperature. Hey, look, just a year ago, how many of you remember New Year's Eve 1 year ago here in the New York area? We had warm temperatures and severe thunderstorms of all things. That ain't going to happen this year. But this year it's a whole different story. It's a whole different look as compared to what we've had over the past several years in December.
For you negative NAO lovers, the North Atlantic Oscillation, i.e., blocking in the North Atlantic, which displaces cold air southward, uh, you're you love this. The NAO, which has gone went negative about a week before Christmas, is forecast to stay negative for the next, right through the start of the new year, and probably at least for the first 10 or 12 days after that. So that's working in your favor. Uh, the Pacific North America Index, which has actually been kind of negative, is getting less negative and getting toward back to the neutral line, which is an interesting development in the Pacific because there's been troughing along the West Coast for weeks, and it's been in the process of shifting and slowly breaking down. And it looks like that process should be continuing. And the Arctic Oscillation, which went negative probably right around Christmas Day, is in the and negative is usually cold in the east or in the northeast and the Great Lakes. It is negative at least through the fifth or sixth. It kind of goes to the neutral line and then makes another turn south, going a little more negative toward the end of this forecast stretch, which probably would be around January. I can't see the last day on the graph. They don't. I don't think it tells you what the last day here of the forecast is, but figures 2 weeks, so it's 16 days. So today's the 28th. So you're looking at January 12th, January 13th. So all the teleconnections seem to be pointing in a wintry direction for the most part. And as I showed you on the upper air, the blocky nature of what is going on and the more favorable look in the Pacific is something to certainly consider as we move into the month of January. I'm sure we're going to get more chances. And, we had two pretty weird events so far to start for December. They both had their issues, Joe. One, one very much outperformed. The other one actually kind of outperformed in a different way, depending on where you were, or underperformed in other places. But there you go, and you got your 3 inch rule in effect.
100,
100.
114 likes, Joe.
Oh, very nice,
Yes.
very nice. So
Yeah, and the
anyway,
three inch and the 3 inch rule. Yeah, again, we were talking about the fact that they're not all the time. On average, 85.7% of the time, when you get over 3 inches of snow at Central Park, New York City tends to get above normal snowfall for a winter season, and that indeed looks to be the case. We're off and running this year with already 7.2 inches of snow in Central Park. We haven't had that much snow in Central Park in December since 2020. In 2020, we had 10.2 inches of snow, and we ended up with an above normal snow year with 38.6 inches of the white stuff. But since then, it's, you talk about feast and famine for the snow lovers in New York City. It's been famine. We've had 2021, we had 2/10 of an inch total of snow. 2022, a trace of snow. 2023 in December at Central Park, a trace of snow. And last year, 2024, even though we did get an inch on the ground for Christmas, giving us a white Christmas, the first one in New York in 15 years, the grand total amount in New York in December of last year was 2.8 inches. So we've got something to work with. We've got again over 7 inches so far this month. That's probably going to be about it. We're not going to see any more snow in New York City from now through the end of the year, and so we'll see what happens. We are looking at, but the way things have been going, Joe, it stays this way for the winter season, most of the winter. No question that we're going to see a much higher than normal snow amount, even in New York City
It
in
should also,
2025, 2026.
and we should also point out the fact that New York City is one specific, we're talking about one specific point, but if you look at the surrounding areas, northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, Connecticut, Long Island, the snowfall so far in some cases has been double or even more than double that so far. So
Well,
it's been a
I,
really hefty December for snow.
I could tell you this. Last year, I took out the snow blower one time. The year before, I brought it out dos or trois, two times. So far, this December alone, I've taken it out three times. That's more times. That's the same number that I've had to take it out in the last two
Last two
years
years.
combined.
Yeah.
So it's
And
already
the other
looking
thing
like it's going to be a good year.
I meant to check this because the snowfall for New York City specifically, where we have a really long database for, was above normal in December. And it struck me, I wanted to kind of just go back and check in the last 5 or 6 years the number of above normal snowfall months because there haven't been that many. I wanted to see what 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 those numbers played out as. Now I'm thinking I want to say 2020, December of 2020 was was a pretty hefty snow month for December. That might have been the last time December was above normal, but I could be wrong.
Well, we
I
had
want to.
Central Park had 10.5 inches with a snowstorm, one singular storm
All
on
right.
December 15th. That was the whole month's worth of snow
Okay,
for
so
December. But if you remember, Christmas morning, or in the hours leading up to Christmas morning, the temperature shot up into the 60s. We had
yeah,
rain and pretty much got rid of all of that snow
I know,
in
washed it
time
all
for
away.
Christmas. Yep, yep.
But people like to see snow on the ground. Getting a decent snowfall and have it washed away within a day or two is it's very depressing for them. But it does clean it up, and then you just get to start from scratch again. Okay, I pretty much have run out of things to say. But I did enjoy doing the show on Friday. That was fun, and now we got a new week ahead. We'll let you know tomorrow what we're going to do later this week. But in the meantime, we'll just leave things as is. And we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.
And we'll be here. Yeah, we're looking
All right,
forward to it.
folks.
And you have a good evening and good night. And say hello to the Jets for me, Joe.
Yeah, pretty sad. I mean, the Giants
Hey,
even
your
won
Giants
today.
won today.
Yes, they did. Well, when you're 2-13 and you play a team that's 2-13, but also 2-13 or 3-13, um, one of them had to win. It was by force, and I guess the gods smiled on the Giants today. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night. Bye bye.
Good night.